Tired of getting lost in the jargon during business negotiations? Unlock the secrets to confidently navigating complex business discussions and achieving your desired outcomes with our expert tips and real-world examples.
Struggling to close deals due to language barriers? This video will empower you with actionable strategies to master English for business negotiations and leave a lasting impression on your clients.
Boost your confidence and close more deals. Learn the essential English communication skills for successful business negotiations, from crafting persuasive arguments to understanding cultural nuances.
Let's get one thing straight. Negotiation is not a battle. It's not about winning or losing. If you're asking, who's winning this negotiation, chances are you've already lost.
Exactly. That mindset turns business conversations into competitions. But in reality, negotiation is about solving problems, not creating more.
This idea was brilliantly explained by William Ury and Roger Fisher from the Harvard Negotiation Project. Their classic book, Getting to Yes, changed how people think about conflict and communication.
Yeah, and today we're going to break down some of the best examples from their work. Examples that will not only improve your negotiation skills, but also boost your English vocabulary and business fluency.
Let's start with a simple but powerful story. Two men are arguing in a library. One wants the window open because it's stuffy. The other wants it closed. The wind blows his papers.
So what do? Do they leave it halfway open, slightly cracked? Nope. A smart librarian listens to both sides, then walks into the next room and opens a different window. Fresh air comes in, and no papers fly around.
That's a great example of thinking beyond positions. Instead of focusing on open or closed, the librarian focused on the interests behind those positions, fresh air and a calm workspace.
That librarian didn't just open a window. He opened a new way of thinking. It wasn't about picking sides. It was about understanding what each side actually needed. And that's the core of smart negotiation.
Let's try another example. You've probably seen this one in a movie or maybe in real life. Two people want to share a cake, but they can't agree on how to divide it fairly.
One says, I want the bigger half, and the other says, no, I do. So what happens next? They argue, maybe one of them storms off, or worse, they split the cake, but both leave unhappy.
Exactly. That's a lose-lose outcome. But here's a brilliant trick. One person cuts the cake and the other person gets to choose the piece first.
Now that changes everything. The person cutting the cake will be super careful to cut it evenly because they know they won't get to choose first. Suddenly, fairness is built into the system.
It's a classic example of how creating a fair process can lead to a better result. You don't need to fight harder. You just need to design the game smarter.
And now my favorite story. It's about two kids fighting over one orange.
Oh, I love this one. Go ahead.
So the kids are screaming, it's mine. No, I had it first. The parent gets frustrated, grabs a knife, and splits the orange in half. Each kid gets 50%.
Problem solved, right?
Not really. One kid eats just the fruit and throws the peel away. The other only wanted the peel to make a cake and throws the fruit away.
So basically, if the parent had just asked why they wanted the orange, both kids could have gotten 100% of what they needed. Instead, they each got half of what they didn't want.
Exactly. That story hits hard because it shows how often we focus on positions. I want the orange, instead of interests. I want the peel, or I want the juice.
And this is where it gets really important for English learners too. Because when you negotiate in English, it's not just about using big words. It's about asking the right questions.
Right. One simple word, why, can change everything. Why do you want that deadline? Why is that term important to your company? It makes you sound professional, respectful, and smart.
And people like negotiating with those who understand them. That emotional intelligence combined with clear English is what wins deals, not aggressive tactics.
So we've seen some amazing examples, the window, the cake, the orange, but you might be wondering, okay, I get the idea, but how do I actually do this in real business situations?
Yeah, because it's one thing to understand a story, it's another to walk into a meeting with a client or supplier and negotiate a contract in English.
That's why we're now going to share the 4 core principles of effective negotiation from the Harvard Negotiation Project. These are simple but powerful.
And don't worry, we're going to break them down with real-world examples and practical English phrases so that you can use them right away.
Step 1. Focus on interests, not positions.
Let's start with the biggest mindset shift. Stop focusing on positions and start focusing on interests.
Wait, what's the difference?
Great question. A position is what someone says they want. An interest is the reason why they want it.
So, for example, if I say I want a 10% discount, that's my position. But if you ask me why, maybe I'll say, because our budget is limited, or we're a long-term partner.
Exactly. And once you know the interest, you have options. Maybe you can offer a smaller discount plus free shipping or flexible payment terms.
In English negotiations, a great phrase to use is, can I ask what's the main concern behind that request? Or I'd love to understand more about why that condition matters.
Yes, these kinds of questions make you sound thoughtful and cooperative. You're not just pushing your own agenda, you're building a bridge.
And most importantly, you show respect. And in international business, respect builds trust, and trust closes deals.
Objective standards.
Now let's say you do understand the other side's interests, but you still don't agree. What then?
That's where objective standards come in. This means using outside, fair references to guide the decision.
Like what?
Market prices, expert opinions, legal standards, industry averages, even company policies. Anything that both sides can trust.
Let's say you're discussing a salary. One person wants 5,000, the other says 4,000. Instead of arguing, you say, let's take a look at industry benchmarks for this role in this region.
Boom. Now it's not personal anymore. It's not you versus me, it's both of us looking at the facts together.
Another example, say you're working on a construction project and disagree on the depth of the foundation. Instead of arguing, ask, what do local building regulations recommend for this soil type?
Or, is there a safety standard we can refer to before we decide?
These questions sound professional, neutral, and show that you're not just negotiating, you're problem solving.
Mutual gain.
Now, this is where the magic happens, creating win-win solutions.
Most people think negotiation is a fixed pie. If I get more, you get less. But in reality, we can often expand the pie.
Exactly. Let's go back to the orange story. One child wanted the peel, one wanted the fruit. If the parent had just asked why, both kids could have gotten 100% of what they needed. Instead, they each got half of what they didn't want.
That's why brainstorming is so powerful. Don't jump straight to a yes or no. Create options.
Here's a great English phrase. Let's list a few possible solutions. No pressure, just ideas. Or what would it look like if we found a solution that worked for both sides?
Also, differences are not a weakness. They're a resource. Maybe you care about speed. I care about quality. If we're creative, we can design a plan that delivers both.
Another tip, during brainstorming, remove judgment. Just write down ideas. You can analyze them later. That openness can lead to surprisingly smart deals. Separate people from the problem.
This one is often overlooked, but it's crucial. Be soft on the person, hard on the problem.
So many negotiations go wrong not because of the issue, but because of ego, miscommunication, or personal tension.
That's why you need emotional intelligence. In English, phrases like, I really appreciate your input, I want to make sure we're both heard, or let's take a step back and look at the issue together.
These phrases calm things down. You're reminding the other person, hey, we're a team. The problem is over there, not between us.
Also, build rapport before negotiations start. A short, friendly chat about sports, travel, or lunch can lower defenses and make the actual meeting smoother.
And at the end, thank them for their time, even if you didn't reach an agreement. Business is about relationships. Always protect the relationship.
So, those are the 4 pillars. Focus on interests, use fair standards, invent options, and separate people from problems.
Mastering just these 4 ideas can change the way you negotiate in English or any language.
But what if the other side doesn't play fair? What if they lie, manipulate, or try to pressure you?
Don't worry. In the next part, we'll show you how to deal with dirty tactics, powerful opponents, and even personal attacks, all using calm, smart strategies.
Okay, so those 4 steps sound great in theory, but let's be honest, not everyone plays fair.
Yeah, what if the other side is using dirty tricks? What if they're aggressive or simply more powerful than you?
Exactly. This is where most people feel nervous in a negotiation, especially if English is not their first language.
No worries. Let's break this down into 3 tough situations and how to handle them like a pro.
Alert. 1. Dirty tactics and manipulation.
Let's start with dirty tactics. You've probably seen these before: lies, pressure, playing good cop, bad cop, or fake deadlines.
Yeah, like when someone says, this offer is only valid for the next 10 minutes. That's pure manipulation.
Here's the trick. Name the game. Just calmly say, "It feels like we're under a lot of time pressure here. Could we slow down a bit to review the details?"
Or, are we doing a good cop, bad cop routine here? That actually disarms them. Once you name the trick, it loses power.
And it shows confidence. You're not being rude, just direct. That's strong communication.
Another one. If they overwhelm you with information or fast talking, just pause and say, can we take a moment? I want to make sure I fully understand. That pause protects your mind and gives you back control.
Strong arm. 2. When the other side is more powerful.
Now let's say the other party is way more powerful, like you're negotiating with a big company or a senior manager, and you feel small.
That's where your secret weapon comes in. BATNA. Best alternative to a negotiated agreement.
BATNA means knowing what you'll do if this deal fails. It's like a backup plan, and it gives you leverage.
Let me give an example. If you're in a job interview and have no other offers waiting, you'll feel desperate. But if you have 2 other offers waiting, your confidence changes instantly.
Exactly. Your BATNA makes you powerful, even if you're not the biggest player in the room.
So before any negotiation, ask yourself, what's my best alternative if this doesn't work out?
And if your BATNA is weak, strengthen it. Make calls, research options, create backup plans. You'll walk into the meeting with way more confidence.
Fire. 3. When they attack you, not the problem.
Okay, last one, and it's the hardest. What if they attack you personally?
That hurts. They ignore your ideas. They say things like, "That's unrealistic," or "You clearly don't understand our business."
Most people react emotionally. They defend themselves, raise their voice, or shut down.
But smart negotiators use what Harvard calls negotiation jujitsu. Instead of pushing back, you sidestep the attack.
For example, if they say, that's a terrible idea, you don't fight it. You calmly say, interesting, could you help me understand what you see as the main issue?
Or even better, if you were in my position, how would you approach this?
That question flips the power dynamic. Now they're helping you solve the problem.
Another tip, invite criticism. Say, "I'd love your feedback. What do you think could be improved in this proposal?"
Now you're not defensive, you're collaborative. That changes the mood instantly.
So remember, even in tough situations, you don't need to be aggressive. You need to be aware, calm, and prepared.
And just like in martial arts, sometimes the best move is to let the other person lose their balance while you stay centered.
In the final part of this episode, we'll share a powerful real-life story that shows the true meaning of negotiation and why winning is not what you think it is.
Peace Dove Story Time. So, let's end this episode with a story, a real one that perfectly captures what negotiation truly is.
It's 1964, Hyde Park, London. An American father and his 12-year-old son are tossing a frisbee back and forth on the grass.
Back then in England, no one really knew what a frisbee was. People were curious. A small crowd started watching.
After a while, a man in a suit walks over and politely asks the father, "Excuse me for asking, but who's winning?"
The father smiled and said, "We're not keeping score. We're just playing."
And that's negotiation. It's not about who's winning. It's about playing the game together, building something together, and walking away with a solution that works for both sides.
If you're focused on beating the other person, you're not negotiating, you're just fighting.
Real negotiation is about collaboration, empathy, and clarity. And when you combine that with great English communication, you're unstoppable.
Check mark. What you've learned today. Let's quickly recap what we covered. You learned that negotiation is not 50-50. It's about understanding interests. Real-world examples like the cake and the orange teach powerful lessons. The Harvard 4-step model can guide any business negotiation. You can stay calm and in control, even against unfair tactics. And most importantly, negotiation is a relationship, not a competition.
So now it's your turn.
Think of a negotiation you've got coming up. Maybe a job offer, a team project, or a business deal.
Apply one strategy from today, just one. Maybe ask, "Why do you want that?" instead of pushing back. Maybe suggest, "Let's find a fair standard."
And if you found today's episode helpful, hit that like button, leave us a comment, and share this video with someone who's learning English for business.
You've been listening to the Everyday English Podcast, where we turn real-life topics into powerful language lessons.
From pronunciation to presentations, from grammar to global deals, we're here to help you grow.
And hey, we're just getting started. Check out our other episodes in this series on mastering English for business negotiations.
Until next time,
Stay confident, stay curious, and keep negotiating with purpose.
see you in the next episode.